Hey, good morning, everyone. Now, esteemed investor, a very good warm welcome to all the people joining this meeting. We express our gratitude for your time at every point in time. We're having this Monday market review across all the financial market instruments. So, we're going to look at these key headlines and then we also go into the fixed income. We'll look at our expectations and our outlook and the opportunities we can also take as a fixed income investor and as equity investor. As our tradition, we try as much as possible to take overview of the market. It also give us what the outlook is going to be. In the course of last week, we had five trading full section. On Monday, we saw some uptick in the ASI on Tuesday, but on Wednesday, we saw some profit taking, which is expected in any market. Market cannot all the time be on a bullish note. You see some corrections so that actually took place on Wednesday and on Thursday. But on Friday, we saw some recovery, majorly because we are now beginning to see corporate actions and company results filtering into the market, which is one of the key drivers to the equities market. People want to see what they will be expecting as an investor. So the results that he also filtered into the market look very promising in the course of last week. And we could see that we're now beginning to see more huge volume transaction across various sectors or various indices we have in our markets. If we look at this graph, it's just this pie chart is showing that 75% of transactions that took place in our market were majorly coming from the financial service industry, which is a combination of insurance and the banking. And we are not disappointed because we've seen that the result we have seen in the 9 months and some of the information that has also filtered into the market about some of the commercial banks that have also raised capital. Some have also gotten approval. If any bank has gotten approval for 500 billion, it's over capitalized of 500 billion. They now have a shareholders fund of over 600 billion. The offer was also oversubscribed. They gotten approval from the SEC and the Central Bank of Nigeria. So they're now fully capitalized. They can, with that, they can spread their territory and their coast to other African markets and European markets. And at the end of the day, investors and the value lead capital investor will be the one that will benefit because it will reflect on the performance of their ticker. So in the course of last week, we could see that 75% dominated the market from financial service. We saw service industry, we saw transport power also coming out with good results. We saw consumer and we also saw others. It's to tell us that financial service will continue to drive equities market because of the results they are bringing out. So why investors can also look at other sectors or other indices we have in our market. But that's the reason why each transaction took place. So in the course of last week, I said it that we had huge volume trading, 3.13 billion volume of shares was 76.5 billion. If you compare that to what they had in the second week, the week before last week, which was almost 58.83 billion, a lot of people are now taking position in anticipation of the good corporate action that is coming out. We are having limited time now that we begin to see corporate actions filtered into the market because some banks have also submitted by their financials to the central bank. So in the course of last week, we observed that the ESI appreciated by 1.22%, and then it now moved to 103,598.30 basis points. So year to date, when we did the last week presentation, we had negative because last week we saw the previous week we had a lot of profit taking in our equities market, but now last week we saw a lot of people taking position. People are now coming back, and we saw uptick in the prices of some other takers in the banking industry. The figures across week, we saw uptick in their prices because in anticipation of corporate action, First Bank, GTB, Access Bank, UBA, they all moved up beyond the price they were trading when the market opened on Monday. So if you now look at the sectoral performance, that has also reflected in the banking index, about almost 4.09%. Industrial also had little tick because of the renewed buy interest in Wisaka Portland Cement and CAPL. These are the companies that are under that index and they are also driving activities in that industry. But other major indices on our coverage, NGS Consumer, we saw profit taking, which was the reason why it was down by 1.20%. Insurance as well. We saw some highly capitalized insurance company also, people also taking profit, the cornerstone of this world, and then the Shuno Assurance and a few other ones. So that was the reason in the course of last week, only two indices recorded gain. But we believe that in the course of this week, other major indices are likely to have a turnaround. So currently, the Stanbic IBTC is undergoing capital raising, just like other banks did. If you remember vividly that when this exercise started, when the bank they announced that all the banks must increase their capital base to the tune of 500 billion, 200 billion, respectively. All we did at that time was to ensure we run an evaluation of some of those banks, and we came out with those recommendations. If you look at the current market price of Access Bank, it's now trading 25 naira 30 kobo. By the time they did the right issue at that time, it was around 19 naira 70 kobo. Investors who had taken or stick to that lead capital advice at that time, that is subscribed to the right, or even ensure that they also pick it from the market, we have a gain of 28.10%. Type of Fidelity Bank, having almost 95.0%. For GTB, it has been credited as well. We're also following up with registrar to ensure those that have not been credited also will also be credited. At 7.64%, FCMB 47%, Zenith Bank is almost at 37.79%. Sterling Bank, if you check all the tickers in the banks that have raised capital, investors they can be smiling now, because even if you are selling now, you are going to cash out a very good return. But for the Stanbic IBTC, we have done an evaluation, and we want to advise you that ensure you also fill the form and send it to us, because it's also one of the bank that's also doing very well in that index. So the right price for the Stanbic IBTC is 15.50 kobo. And for those who are in their register as the 29th of October last year, so if you have qualified, you can fill your form and ensure that you also participate, because our evaluation for the Stanbic IBTC, if you check our recommendation weekly, is over close to almost 17 naira. So it's a good bargain, but just that the right allocation is very minimal, because it's a 5 for every 22. So for notwithstanding, it also means a lot if you also participate. It's currently trading 15 naira 50 kobo. So we have done an evaluation, and we will advise you that fill your form and submit your rights applications to Lead Capital Customer Service. Then you fund your account so that we can remit, because it will soon close. And then for the final year expectation, I've said it that things are now releasing their results into the market, and people are expecting good corporate action coming out from some of these banks, other companies we have in our markets. We've done this exercise so that to be able to guide you that if you are looking for a good return in terms of dividends, you can take any of these companies. We have 1 to 16. It's not only limited to banks, but just that because of the bank, they have very huge balance sheet when you compare to other companies that we have in manufacturing, industrial, and then we also have in consumer. But the good thing is that as an investor, you must consistently and constantly investing plus all the major indices. We are not encouraging you to only focus on the banks. When you have other indices, other sectors, we have investment in other sectors. There's no point over time. Please, you have immune your portfolio against the macroeconomic headwinds, because all the sectors cannot have problems at the same time. If there's any cyclical movement within the economic system, a particular segment or sector will benefit. It can be bank today, it can be manufacturing. You can see now that the agri sector is really benefiting from the foreign exchange gains, because a lot of people, we've seen food inflation going up. So on that note, investors should take this 1 to 16. The price is still, some of these companies are still undervalued. They are not overvalued. They are still undervalued, because as companies bringing out good results, you see valuation changing. So don't wait that Access Bank is coming to 20 naira, GTB is coming to 15 naira. That may not happen soon. So when it is time to review the valuation, we'll let you know. But now, our valuation on these stickers are that you can take a shot, you can invest in this company. If you look at it from also analyze dividend yields, you will see that any of these return, there is nothing that is less than 9 or 10%. And the analyzed dividend is covering like 110 days, because by middle of May, I'm sure all the banks will have paid their dividends and they have done the markdown. So on that note, we want to encourage all our lead investors, take advantage of this recommendation, 1 to 16, for those who are looking for companies that will pay dividends. And then on the capital gain analysis, you will see that when we get to the recommendation. Our weekly recommendation is that also an extraction from over 50 stocks we have in our recommendation that cut across all various sectors, all indices. We are still maintaining Access Bank. People will be asking that for a very long time we have been maintaining Access Bank and all the fugars. We'll continue to do that as long as these banks are posting good results. It will change their valuation, it will change their earnings per share, it will change their dividends per share, it will change their price to book ratio and P ratio. So when those things happens from time to time, we are seeing changes. What we need to do is also revalue the company. So Access Bank, First Bank, CMB, 1 to 28, you could see that we have some banks there. We also have insurance. We have some industrial companies. We have what do you call it, consumer. We also have a telecom. MTN is also part of our buy recommendation. Oil and gas, we have already, we have MRS, we have Seplat, we have Total. And we also have Okomo and Presto. So 1 to 28, please, our valued investor will encourage you to take advantage of the current market price so that you can be part of the people that will buy with the current market price. Because as soon as the corporate action filters into the market, you see a lot of people coming. So 29 to 35 is wood, while 36 to 38, sir, Eternal, Girigu, and the Transcorp Hotel, they are also our sale recommendations for the week. Our expectations for the week, this company, Transcorp Power, came out last week with a very good result, 115.27%. It has also formed part of our recommendation. We have done valuation at what time. And we also saw also came out from the Guinness. It has moved from negative profit of 8 billion to over 20 billion. It has also formed part of our buy recommendations for this week. So in our quarterly webinar, we are going to do more work on some of those company results. Our expectation for the week, we expect more company results to also filter into the market. We also expect buy interest outweighing sell interest, and we are like that is also going to bring uptick in the ASI. We also anticipate investors will watch out for companies that have good track record for dividends payments, which are form part of our recommendation. And then at last, finally, we expect ASI is also going to move to the green zone and the equities market will close on a positive note. So this is the end of the equities market presentation. Let's just take a look at what happened in the fixed income market and then we'll move to Q&A. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone, once again, and thank you for the broad overview of the equities markets. Very quickly, we'll look at what transpired at the fixed income space. And we saw some dynamics last week, largely on the back of the liquidity that came in towards the end of the market. As we all might be aware, fact disbursement was made on Friday. So when that came in, it saturated the system, spotting liquidity levels. And as a result of that, we saw the funding rate drop significantly from 32.33% for the open repo rates to 27%, and the overnight from 32.75% to 27.50%. Despite the fact that we had some major settlement last week, that's the OMO settlement and the Nigerian Treasury Bill settlement. Amid all of that, we still saw funding levels sustained very good. The funding rate sustained a very good level rather. And for the Treasury bills markets, we saw that the market closed on a bullish note. That wasn't quite surprising. It just emphasized what we've been saying before now. We've seen consistently for the past, if not more than 2 months, I would say maybe 2 to 3 months, we've seen the consistent direction in yields and in rates by the DMO. As it's obvious at this point that they're trying as much as possible to sustain or to suppress rates in the market, particularly to curb the excessive borrowing costs by the government. And I think we've been emphasizing on that and we'll continue to emphasize. If there's any time to invest in the market, we strongly believe now is the time, because we have the outlook in the market supports a further decline in rates. And I know how painful it can be when I can get a better rate in the market, but I stalled, and as a result of that, I'm getting something lower. And the secondary treasury bills market, we saw that the market closed on a bullish note, largely on the back of improved demand we saw post the primary market auction results. At the auction, we saw that 530 billion worth of Nigerian treasury bills was offered, and subscription was in excess of 2 trillion. In the last auction, if you can recall, subscription was in excess of 1.7 trillion. Now we're seeing subscription in excess of 2 trillion. That is to simply point to us that people are trying as much as possible to lock in their funds before rates declines. And as I mentioned earlier, we can't overemphasize the importance of our prompt decision because the window we have currently might get short on us anytime soon. By the end of the auction, 756 billion was allotted in the market. On the 91 and the 182 days, we saw rates closing flat at 18% and 18.5%, while on the 364 day, we saw a 110 basis point decline in rates from 22.9 to 21.80. Uh, 21.80. For the bonds market, we saw an opposite direction in the bonds market. The bonds market closed on a bearish note ahead of this week's auction. There's a bond auction taking place today where 450 billion worth of FGN bonds is on offer. And we saw last week that activities last week was skewed around the profit taking. And we saw most people that are currently holding some of their positions exiting, largely to position ahead of this week's auction, because at this auction a new a new bond that will be on offer. The 2035, a new 10-year bond, the 2035 bond will be on offer where 100 billion worth of I think about 100 billion of the bond will be on offer in the auction today. While on the 2029 we have I think 200 billion, and the 2032 150 billion will be on offer. So we saw activities around that where people are taking profits to position ahead of that. We will see the new bond being a major game changer this year, as we saw last year, where the new 2033 and the new 2034 bonds also significantly mopped up liquidity at the bond markets. But on the tenor basis, we saw that the short end of the curve witnessed significant activities from the 26 to the 2029s. We saw significant activity on that end of the market. And also at the mid end of the curve, the 36, the 35, 36, and 42s also saw some massive activities. As we can see from the chart here, the yield curve, the blue line represents where rate closed last week. We can see an improvement in yields on that end, and that tells us that the sell-offs were very, very aggressive on the specific bonds as 2034, the 2035, the 2026, 2028. We saw significant sell-offs at that end. And that wasn't surprising, like I said, as we believe that all those proceeds from the sales would impact at today's auction. By the time the result is out, I'm sure we'll advise all of our clients for them to see how the market closed. But on average, we saw a 67 basis points increase in yields across the various maturities to close at 20.57. And okay, just to point to something, last week we got some inquiries from clients asking how retail investors can also participate in the bonds market. They had mentioned that in equities market, I can invest with 1 million, I can invest with 2 million. So just to answer on the broader notes now, the bond market or the fixed income market generally is not limited to just HNIs and institutional investors. From the money market with as low as 10 million naira, I'm sure you can invest something in the fixed income market, from bank placements, from fund placements, some other products that we have. They've given you the opportunity to invest. You necessarily don't need to start sourcing for the 50 million that is required to go for the auction, or either the NTB auction or the bond auction with your 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. You can invest in our various funds, as those funds would in turn invest in the various opportunities in the market and getting your returns across to you. So just to answer that on the very quick notes, the notion that the fixed income market is meant for institutional and HNI clients is actually not true. Anybody can invest in the fixed income market, just the way anyone can also invest in the equities market. But quickly at the foreign exchange market, we saw some improvements in Naira at the official window from 1,547 Naira 58 kobo to 1,531 Naira 20 kobo. On the forwards contract, Naira sustained the downward slide as it lost from the 1 month to the 1 year contracts. And just to speak to our various products again, like I said, those products, they've given you the opportunity, or they present rather the opportunity to participate in the market. While we might be aware that 50 million is the minimum sum you need to go for those auctions, but these funds with as low as 5 million, 10 million naira, you can invest in them, and you still get the return you will get when you go for the auction, and all of the institutional and HNI guys will get when you go for the auction directly from our lead fixed income fund with as low as 50,000 naira. This is targeted towards retail investors. You put in you put 50,000 naira in equities. You also need to balance your portfolio by also looking at some fixed income products where you can get to edge yourself against the potential risk. The lead balance fund invests in both equities and fixed income products. The lead dollar fund, with uncertainty we currently have in the foreign exchange markets, we've seen some traction in this fund where people are looking to just diversify their portfolio and also to edge against the depreciation of the naira. The Eurobond trading, you have a substantial FX and you're looking to invest. This is a very good opportunity to put your fund as you get to earn a stable return over time for our lead Gazelle portfolio. Last week, we got a number of clients make inquiries. Okay, you've been saying that rates are going to decline. What then do we do? How do we protect ourselves against the potential decline in rates? These products present a very good opportunity. You can lock in your funds for as low as 90 days to as high as 365 days to protect yourself. Rates are very, very competitive when compared to what is obtainable in the market. And if any of these products, is what you're looking at investing in, you can always reach out to us through our email, customerservice@leadcapital.ng.com, and we'll be more than happy to provide more information as may be required. With this, we come to the end of the presentation. It's now time for questions and answers. If you have questions on how to go about your investing or about any of the presentation we've done this morning, now is the time to. Okay, we have some questions here. Is there prospective dividend payment from MTN this year?
Okay, it's not certain they are going to pay dividends, because if you look at their 9-month performance, that's the profit after tax at 9 months, it stood at 4 billion. And the shareholders, the total outstanding shares of the MTN stood at over 20 billion. So the company is just recovering from the macroeconomic headwinds, especially from the foreign exchange losses. So, but the good thing is that the SEC has granted them an approval to increase the tariff by 50%. So we begin to, if they are not paying dividends this year, investors will also see value in the 2025, because that tariff hike is going to impact on their earnings, and then with my tendency for them to pay internet dividends for the 2025. But for 2024, we may not really expect dividends payments from the MTN, because the profit they made as at 9 months is very minimal compared to the total outstanding shares of 20 billion.
Okay, thank you. Do you think the 100 billion bonds raised by Fresco will expose them to huge finance costs? Okay.
I think the answer is no. If you look at the required composition of the formation for company is 40 to 60. What they have also maintained is still within the threshold of 40 to 60%, equity 60 and then 40 to the debt. So it's a bond, and the essence of raising that capital, they are trying to acquire a plant that's a Ghana oil development plant, and they will want to ensure that that asset will be used to leverage on the West Africa. So when they are able to acquire the assets, they will be able to increase the value for the shareholders. And don't also forget that the bond is also a callable bond. Within 3 years, if they have huge operating cash flow and they are able to recoup the money, they are going to call it back and they will pay the shareholders off. But at the end of the day, the shareholders is going to benefit. So it won't expose them to huge financial costs, because it's not for administrative costs, but it's for an asset acquisition.
Okay, thank you. What should be the corporate actions expectation for the year?
We expect a better corporate action 2024 than 2023, because if you look at the result we have seen 9 months, 6 months from across indices we have in our markets, they are very impressive. They are good. And what determines what corporate action outlook will be is the performance of the company from the earnings per share. So we've seen companies coming out with a very good earnings per share. So it shows that they should spread better corporate action. The banks are likely to pay more than what they paid last year. The insurance company will likely to pay more than paid last year across sectors. Thank you.
Okay, you mentioned 10 million and that anyone can invest in fixed income, but you did not mention how much retail investors can invest. Okay, that is why we have the various products that we've showcased or we've always showcased. Uh, from the various, the lead fixed income fund, the lead balance fund, the lead dollar fund, the Gazelle portfolio, with as low as 100,000 naira, 50,000, 100,000 naira, you can just within a monthly contribution into the mutual funds. I think that's what most of our clients they do. They just give a standing order such that the end of every month they get to put in a minimum of 50,000 naira, and with that, before you look at it over time, you would have you would have accumulated significant sum of money. So 50,000, 100,000, depending on your capacity, for that to retail investor, it's open. As low as 50,000 naira, you can get to invest in the mutual funds. Is there prospect for dividend from livestock feed?
Okay, this year, yes, there is prospects. They can pay dividends because the result as at 9 months was very, very superlative. So, and they moved from the negative EPX the company has been experiencing in the last 3, 4, 5 years. So, we expect that with what they have made in terms of earnings for the 9 months, there is tendency that they are going to pay dividend. It may be minimal, it may not be significant, but at least they will start something, they will do something.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we have someone's hand up. You've been given the permission to unmute and ask a question, sir. Mr. Julius.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, all. Mine is not a question, but I'm just asking for the slide. Can it be sent to me through my email?
Okay, yes, sir. At the end of each session, we send out the presentation slide. So I'm sure you would get to this phone before the end of today, sir. You'll get it in your email.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, sir. Okay.
Thank you.
As the TB rate reached its peak and has it been coming down lately? Yes, to be precise, I think sometimes in November we saw Treasury bills rate as high as 23%, but as at the last auction is currently at 21.8%. That's close to a 200 basis point decline from the peak we've seen in recent times. And if we look at the trend for the last 2 to 3 months, we will see a consistent decline at each auction. So that's to tell us that the era of elevated rates might be over, and we might be coming down to a moderate level. So, which is why any investment decision we're looking to take, particularly in the fixed income market, should be taken now without wasting any more time, because the era of high rates might be over. Any advice on crypto coin trading? For now, Lead Capital does not have a crypto coin product that we offer to clients. However, if you need requirements as to any information in the market, I'm sure we can guide as much as we can. But for now, we don't have a product that is currently being offered to clients as regards. And again, the Securities and Exchange Commission, they are still in the process of putting in a framework for cryptocurrency trading. So we believe that hopefully before the end of this year, we should have a concrete headway as to cryptocurrency trading. Is it advisable to buy IBTC right offer?
Okay, yes, it's advisable. If you look at one of the slides, we recommended Stanbic IBTC right because it's currently trading at a deep discount. The current market price stood at 59 naira 50 kobo, while the right offer is 15 naira 50 kobo. So you can invest. Also, the 12-month trailing earnings per share for Stanbic IBTC is a 14 naira 50 kobo. So it's also it's worth investing. So we are good to go with that.
Well, we have I think this might be our last question for today. Mr. King Adewumi Opeyemi, you've been given the permissions on mute. Very quickly, please, because of the time. You may unmute and ask the question.
Good morning, sir.
Morning, ma.
Yeah, thank you very much for teaching us. I just want to, when you were giving us the recommendation, you mentioned, especially for the banks that were recapitalized, that did offers and rights, in the recent past. You said shareholders can now rejoice with their shares. Does it mean that those shares have been credited to our CSCS accounts?
Okay, some
Thank you.
have been credited. FCMB, Access Bank, they have been credited. But for the GTB, they've done partial crediting of the CSS accounts. And if you remember when I was in the course of my presentation, I talked about the GTB. We also observed that those who also subscribe to the GTB public offer through the NGX portal, they have not been credited. But we have communicated to the data mass registrar last week, and they have assured us that in the next 2 weeks, they are going to credit it. So we also follow up from our registrar's unit to ensure that those who have subscribed, either through NGX portal or through Lead Capital, is fully credited to your account.
Okay, and because of time, this will be our last question. Is it okay to send dollars from domiciliary accounts to fund the Lead Dollar Fund now? Yes, you can send FX from your domiciliary account to Lead Dollar account details. If you have the account, yes, you may proceed. If you need the account details, please send us an email, and then we would provide the details. How can I invest in the Lead Capital Fixed Income Fund? Or for inquiries as regards the fund, Mr. Said Adebayo will contact you after now, but you can only send us an email. You fill the form, fund the account, and that would be it. Okay, with this, we come to the end of the session, please, because of our time. There are more questions. We would like to thank you for, the engagement, taking out the time to join. We are very grateful for considering us as your investment advisor, and we hope that you have a great week ahead. In case you have questions that we're unable to answer, please send us inquiry, send us an email. You can reach us through any of our channels. Thank you, and do have a lovely day ahead.